Judd, how would you characterize the humor in this movie?
Well, hopefully it's very frank. I could use the word frank and funny and real. That it's based on real things that people would connect to.
It's an adult comedy.
Yes, it's very much for adults. Do not bring your 7-year-olds. It's for adult people. Bring your children if you think they can handle it. Maybe you want to bring a therapist with you to hold the hand of the child.
Set us up. What is the story about?
Well, the movie is about this woman who works for the E! Channel as an entertainment reporter, and she's very excited about her life. She's very ambitious, and she gets a promotion to be on air, and she gets very drunk while celebrating and winds up sleeping with this pot-smoking, porn-watching slacker named Ben Stone, and then she gets pregnant, and it's about the two of them trying to figure out if they ever really could like each other.
So, how different are these two characters from each other?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to think of two people that were as different as any two people can be, a real Beauty and the Beast type story, and hopefully that's what's funny about the movie is seeing two people discover deeper truths about each other as they force themselves to spend more time together.
It's also about gender, isn't it? It's about how different men and women are, is it not?
Yeah, it is. It's very much about the differences between the sexes and also how men and women handle stress and the stress of a baby coming. You know, Catherine's character, you know, she's very concerned that he's not going to be able to handle this, and she's nesting, and he's in denial, and so he doesn't read the baby books. He kind of doesn't want to know. He's irritated to have to deal with all the gynecologists and all of that, and it's about all the clashes that happen as they, you know, attempt to see if they're going to raise this baby together or not.
What I like about your movie is that the characters are so authentic.
Yes.
For example, Catherine, she's, you know, the need for the perfect birth, perfect.
Yes, that's the mistake my wife and I always make, is we so want the birth experience to be pleasant, to be something we will remember the rest of our lives. And almost out of karma, everything goes wrong every single time. The doctor doesn't show up, or the doctor is screaming and cursing at their nurses. Like, it never is the angelic experience that we want.
Now, you cast your wife and your kids in this movie. So how close to home is the story?
Well, it is very close to home. It's kind of like our lives through a funhouse mirror. But it's also Paul Rudd's marriage. When I was writing it, I asked Paul, what does your wife hate about you? So I tried to, you know, wrap in all of these things about Paul, that he was obsessed with fantasy league baseball and football and was always sneaking out to jump on the computer, and that he wouldn't read the baby books. I mean, he's the reason why that's in the movie, that Seth doesn't read the baby books. And I said, why didn't you read the baby books? And he said, because then it's real. And so it's a lot of that denial comes from him also. But a lot of the things that happened to me and my wife, we definitely got in a big fight once because I got weird about sex near the end of the pregnancy because I thought I was going to poke the baby. And so she reminded me that we should put that in the movie to humiliate me.
How did you meet up with Seth? How do you guys meet?
Well, I was casting this TV show, Freaks and Geeks, and I was looking for people to play the freaks. And so I was in Canada, in Vancouver, and I saw Seth at an audition, and he was 16 years old and just already had a fully formed comic persona, and he really made me laugh. And on the show, he was so strong, and there was an episode that the story was about him, and I thought, wow, that guy could probably carry a movie. He seems like he's that type of person that people like, right in the center of things.
And why did you pick Catherine?
Well, Catherine is someone that, you know, I've watched on Grey's Anatomy since the beginning, and I always noticed that she was really, really funny. And so I had her come in to read with Seth, and she just was so hilarious yelling at him. And no one else seemed to capture the sense of humor of the movie. In fact, everyone else who came in didn't laugh at Seth. So they would improvise the scene, and everyone looked at Seth like they didn't understand him. And she was the first person who was really funny with him, and then when it ended, she was laughing her butt off at what Seth was doing, because the movie is a lot of it is Seth's sense of humor, and if you find him irritating, it really doesn't work. A lot of people treated Seth in the audition the way the character treats Seth in the movie. Like they didn't care for him.
Now, you tend to work with people over and over again.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, it's hard to find people who are funny and who have the same attitude as you. So if someone's great, I don't think, okay, I'm never going to work with them again. That was fun that one time. I just think about, I think about them as I'm writing, and I'll think, oh, I'll write a part for Paul Rudd. He's funny. And
Now, this house of slackers.
Yes.
How authentic are they? Are these guys? Is this how they are?
I think it is how they are. The only difference is that all of those guys are very ambitious actors, and they work hard at their craft. But I think there is a lot of video game playing. There might be some adult films, and I can say that everything they smoke is cigarettes. So I don't want to cast aspersions on anyone specifically, but they probably are up to no good a fair amount of the time.
So how do you work when you? How precious is your script when you're working dialogue?
I mean, for me, I work really hard to polish a script, and every scene in the movie is exactly what it was in the script, in the sense that the beginning, middle, and end and all the emotions are the same. But the details and the jokes, the odd corners, I like for them to come up during the scene. Because if I'm shooting a scene where Catherine tells Seth that she's pregnant, there's the joke I wrote, but why not get 10 more and then figure out in editing which one actually worked?
Is it true that you shoot until there's no more film left?
Yeah, when you shoot film, there's a mag, it's called, and there's 10 minutes of film. And most people, when they're directing a mag, you can do two takes or 5 takes in one mag. And I never, and I always, it's one take, and we just roll it till it runs out. But the audience doesn't care how much film I've wasted. They just don't want the bad stuff to be in the movie. So it's all done for them.
How similar is this movie to your previously directed film, 40-Year-Old Virgin, which was such a huge success?
Well, I mean, it's similar in spirit, and there's a lot of big, edgy, frank humor in the movie. It's a little more realistic than the 40-Year-Old Virgin, which played a little bit broader than we are this time. But I think it has the same heart and the same sweetness that people liked about the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Is that what people react to?
I think people know that these movies have a good heart and are trying to say something positive, and that all of the jokes and the dirty jokes are all in there to support, ideas that we think are uplifting and hopeful. But along the way, we can have all sorts of fun with some edgy jokes or some shocking things that you don't expect. But they're all in there because they're honest, and they're the things that would actually happen.
Is this a genre that is underserved? The adult raunchy comedy?
I think so. I mean, I'm making them because there's not that many of them, so I figure I might as well do it. No one else is doing it. But that's the type of movie I like. I love Something About Mary. I love Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was a gigantic fan of Terms of Endearment, which was one of the great, really funny but also serious movies. And so when it's done well, I think for me, there's nothing better.
One last question. How did you get into comedy?
I got into comedy because I was just a weird, nerdy kid looking for something of his own, and Steve Martin was really popular when I was in elementary school, and so was Monty Python, and Saturday Night Live just came on the air. So I was just fascinated by all these people, and I hoped one day to be involved in it. And so to work with all these people is just a dream come true. I mean, that's the funny thing, is when I meet Seth Rogen when he's 16, in my head, it's as exciting as meeting Steve Martin.